much easier to roam to that mid lane and have this game plan of shut Senkux down.
Senkux has actually been having a pretty solid split so far. We'll see what they end up giving him if it ends up being the Swain in the mid lane.
And on that point, it very likely is the Swain in the mid lane because these are two AD carries that only play AD carries. They're not playing any of that other
the
garbage.
only ones, too.
Yeah, it's Hansama and Upset, and Hansama Swain. That's not something I really want to see. I want to see him on the Draven again.
It would be the greatest
exciting champions. I don't want to see the Swain in the bottom.
All right,
That's a Senkux
we'll see if you get your wish. We'll see if you get your wish right now. Now, I do want to remind everybody, speaking of Senkux champions, that due to bug causing his stars to sometimes become invisible, Aurelion Sol is globally disabled for all competitive games on patch 8.12. Dropping that one in a game later, forgot to mention it in picks and bans.
I mean, it's only relevant when Senkux is playing,
exactly,
right?
yeah, a bit of light pollution apparently, so Aurelion Sol can't see his own stars. Sejuani now last ban for Misfits Gaming. We're back over to the Schalke side of things, and they take the Cho'Gath for Vizichachi, an old favorite of his.
Yeah, the Sejuani ban is very interesting because it makes you think that Misfits were thinking, oh, maybe that's a Trundle in the top lane to counter out the Mundo. That would be an adaptation I'd like to see. Not going to be getting that in this game, of course, with the Cho'Gath locked in. But now we see that Schalke are trying to save that AD carry pick for last, for Upset, because that way they can try to get a little bit of a counter matchup going, I feel like, against the best player on the Misfits team.
And the best player locks in. That's a good bottom lane, actually. Good old bottom lane. I used to call it one of the bodyguard because you get that extra proc off with the Braum. It can block the damage on the Lucian. Now over to Upset. We could just be seeing the good old AD carry matchup. The Ezreal still left open.
So one of the benefits of the Ezreal with Pyke is that he's very safe on his own, so he could let Vander go around the map doing whatever he wants, and he's at very little risk of actually being killed because of his mobility and his slipperiness.
So it won't be all about the bottom lane for Schalke, but for Misfits, they'll still try to play to win, to push Upset back time and time again. We'll see where Vander ends up going, but I do like this Schalke composition. It does seem to kind of conform to their strengths.
Yeah, there's a lot of playmaking on this team, specifically in the hands of Vander and Nukeduck, two of the players that we want to be making moves here earlier on. I think the duo of Vander and Amazing is going to be very strong at moving towards that middle lane and setting up Nukeduck to be in a position where he can carry.
But come on, man. All honesty, it's going to be about the junglers.
Misfits.
It's going to be about the junglers, man. Maxlore is on Camille, Amazing's latest signature champion. And he's taking the Trundle to try and deny what they could have done with the Swain. I want to see what they can get done early on in this game.
This is going to be a fun one, and it's a classic Misfits comp with that kill lane in the bottom lane. There's a lot of kill threat with the Lucian and the Braum if they find those engagements. And of course, Maxlore on something that can be a little bit more proactive earlier on is going to be enabled by the rest of his team.
Yeah, not to mention self-sufficiency up in the top, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's where the junglers actually take a couple of trips early on. We saw what happened when Chachi could get a little bit punished a little last week. Alfari has been dominating people on his own. Misfits are just having such a good time right now. 4-0 is such a great start in any split. But in light of what happened in the spring, these guys have really got the swagger back.
It's a complete reversal of what we saw. They've got the confidence, they've got the momentum behind them, and they're trying to prove this week they're the best team in Europe.
Well, they might just do it. 5-0 would be the scoreline if they can take down FC Schalke no fear. We'll see. As we head up onto Summoner's Rift, Schalke trying to prove that they can still be considered a top-tier team. Redemption is also in the cards for them. That's what they're looking for this time around. They fell short of a lot of expectations in the spring as well. We'll see if there's going to be any shenanigans in this early game. It looks like just the line of scrimmage.
The first thing my eyes are drawn to is the double teleport in the bottom lane for Misfits. Both Hansama and Mickey running that option. Going to give them a lot of lane pressure. They can just stay in bot lane as long as they please and keep Upset, pressured underneath his own tower, which should make it difficult for Evander to get those roams off.
So what's the game plan then? You look at this, Hansama, Mickey X just take the first tower, rotate towards the mid, Misfits, wash, rinse, repeat?
In an ideal world, yes. The issue comes is if Amazing gets proactive here in the early game, because that's been a hallmark of Schalke, is getting him to sort of light the fire underneath the rest of Schalke and just pick out one lane where he wants to really, really abuse. And in this game, I think that's going to be even more important because the Misfits, left untouched, basically just win in every single matchup.
Yeah, and we saw how scary Camille Jungle can be last time around. Actually ended up winning the game. We'll see if Maxlore can step into Memento's shoes. And speaking of Maxlore, let's kind of compare him a little bit to Schalke's jungler, who has been a very critical component of the Schalke lineup.
Yeah, you have K plus A much higher there for Maxlor, but it's a little bit misleading because I feel like while Maxlor does have the better stat line, it's because the rest of his team is enabling him to farm up a little bit more and then only make plays when they're 100% going to work out, whereas Amazing has to really be involved a lot more.
Oh yeah, one is definitely playing the game on easy mode and the other one's going hard at this point. So that is the key. Like, is Amazing going to be able to go above and beyond to kind of match that pressure a little bit more? He's on the Trundle. This is... last week, you know, exempted with the 6-kill Trundle in like 10 minutes. I would say Trundle maybe not the best early game jungle ganker.
Yeah, that's the theory, right? But then you have players like Memento that just blow that out of the water.
No one told Scuttle Crab.
What he is quite good at, though, is finding counter ganks and also killing those Scuttle Crabs. He's a murderer in the river.
Yeah, so is Maxlor, too. In fact, he steps into the Schalke jungle, taking away the Gromp as well.
It's a complete mirror of these two paths. It's really interesting because usually you'll see junglers in the professional level start on their red buff to make sure that they can win any fight in the river over the Scuttle Crab, but it seems almost like both junglers mind-gamed each other into going for the same exact route.
Ooh, looks like that ward just expired just in time for Maxlor to actually step through without getting caught. So it looks like they may be destined to meet after all. Maxlor taking the long route back up to his jungle. He's going to find it very empty. If Amazing's able to get out of there in time. Suncook's even making moves. In fact, it looks like he might want to try and help collapse on the Trundle, but he takes the exit.
And while Trundle might not be the best early game ganker, his clear speed is nothing to laugh about. With the Q, the Chomp, stealing AD as well as the W to give him the attack speed, he's able to melt through camps relatively quickly, and now he's going to have that camp advantage because while he was clearing that entire top side of Misfits jungle, Maxlor, he was trying to make that rotation on over and wasn't able to punish Amazing.
Yeah, Senkux was even trying to join as well. Let's check back in with the bottom lane. As expected, the bullying is commencing. Hans Sama pushing Upset back. Now, Upset has been able to keep up in the farm department. That hasn't been an issue right now.
Yeah, it's doing just fine for him. It's also, I want to talk about this Pyke a little bit, because in the laning phase, he's actually quite good at finding all-ins. But with the Ezreal against a Braum, it is much more difficult. Instead, he's going to lean very heavily on the power of his passive, which gives him that regeneration whenever he walks out into the fog of war, and will make it much more difficult for Hansama and Mickey X to punish him in this 2v2.
Yeah, of course, as you said in the pick and ban phase, his real goal is going to be trying to roam around the map and find some time, but he's locked up for the time being. Mickey will pop Squire's Bloom, going to run straight into Vander, gets yoinked back. Just a couple of auto attacks is all he's going to be able to punish him for, and the Winter's Bite pushing it back once again. So for the time being, it's still a much quieter affair than we had last time around, but I think that's much more to Misfits and Schalke's liking.
Yeah, Misfits just want to stay in that lane phase, scale on through, and have a jolly old time, and especially, we talk about this Pyke, keeping him pinned down here in the bottom lane, because when you run double teleport, you are always going to be trying to have that consistent shove, be dominating the lane and pinning your opponents down. The issue then comes when Schalke bring a few extra members into the bottom lane and you don't have a heal, you don't have an exhaust, and that's sort of the opportunity that Amazing could be looking for a little bit later down the road. Oh, Maxlor.
Speaking of looking for things,
He missed it.
He did. It's okay. No one
Wait,
saw
no,
that.
that's an issue because now Amazing is here and he wasn't able to take it down.
Unlucky. It's Ward War in the river.
This could be a 2v2.
Sencook's actually going to get pushed back. There's a level advantage.
Yeah, it's Hansama and Mickey, though, with priority in bottom lane, and that should get them this, unless there's a smite from Amazing.
Scuttle, it's very important to get Scuttle.
He's so important.
If only but for the fans.
Yes.
Securing that vision up.
Roughly the same value as one normal camp. The benefit is that usually you take it down a little bit faster, and it doesn't cost you any HP, so...
It also doesn't fight back.
He doesn't fight back.
It kind of feels mean to kill it.
Yep, he just doesn't even know. Doesn't know why people keep doing it, but he keeps coming back for more.
Alrighty. Now let's go ahead and check in with another interesting matchup, is the mid lane. I want to focus in on Senkux because Senkux has kind of pulled, he's been the emblem of the 180 from the splits. Like his spring split performance was not really all that great, and there were a lot of question marks around this guy. Like was Misfits right to keep him on the roster? Were they going to swap him? What was going to happen? Instead, they keep him on, and their faith is rewarded. This guy actually has really shown some very impressive plays this split.
Yeah, I like to call Spring Split Senkux Dark Senkux, and the new Senkux, you know, actual Senkux. He's been playing so well, but takes a really bad trade against
there's a
Nuke
caster
Duck.
curse right there.
Oh,
He
man.
does pull Nuke Duck right back and around. He's able to take a couple more minions out, but
I think the most important thing here, though, is his actual laning stats. The KDA is nice, but his team is 4-0. You can sort of write that one off. The biggest is that he was down 10 CS on average at 15 minutes in the spring split. Now he's up almost 9, which is absolutely fantastic turnaround for this player.
Yeah, before anyone whips your calculators out and say, wait a second, I don't know if that adds up. The CSD does not include when he's playing against the funnel comps, so that one's a little bit different, right? It has slightly less games, but it's still a good point that in the standard matchups, he's doing a lot better in lanes.
Exactly, and even when he was playing against Fnatic's version of the funnel comp, he was still popping off. He kept even in gold, at least, because he was getting kills and really working well with Maxor to facilitate an early game advantage.
He was able to shut down the funnel comp at the end of the day. Now, there's a fight over the blue buff here in the jungle. It looks like Nukeduck is actually trying to come in and help out, and all this is really doing, it's slowing down Maxlor.
Because Senkux is falling very far behind in this mid lane. 17 CS at the moment, and I think it comes back to the draft a little bit, because usually Misfits are very proactive about getting the stronger jungle mid 2 versus 2. Swain, not the best early game. He's very limited on his range. He needs some items underneath his belt, the Rod of Ages especially, to start scaling up, and that means that you are going to be bullied around a bit.
Speaking of bullied, Upset and Vander continue to get pushed back, and yeah, talking about Senkux, we were giving him some props for how much he's actually improved, but we don't want to blame him too much for the fact that, okay, he's not looking as impressive as in those games because he is in that unfavorable matchup.
Yep, definitely a struggle here for the Swain, but he'll turn into a team fighting god later on. As will the Aurelia, though, so it's definitely over on the side of Nukeduck. One thing we haven't seen, though, is that early move out of Amazing we were almost expecting out of Schalke's jungle. Yeah,
well, Amazing has been traditionally relied upon to make these early plays, but Schalke, they actually have amassed themselves a gold lead. It's slim. It's only 400, but for a 0-0 game, this is actually not bad. Amazing has been just keeping Maxlor down. Now, he's going to have to fight for his own blue buff because Maxlor is hungry for one, and he actually decides he wants the kills instead. There's almost no mana, and Amazing's forced to fly. Just in time to avoid being first-blooded.
Amazing's like, that wasn't close, man. I got out of there no problem.
How much HP was that?
That was less than 10, I want to say. He was holding on to that flash for as long as possible, and he's glad he used it the time he did, but he's still going to lose a lot of his camps here to Maxlor.
Yeah, so that's the pressure game turning back. Maxlor living in his jungle, and Vander is kind of caught a little bit here. There's no dive incoming, so he's not in any immediate danger, but he's still a little bit worried.
Yeah, and this is the intelligent play from Misfits. Again, Maxlor, not as much of the ganking type as he is set up by the rest of his team. He's intelligent in the fact that he plays around where his team is strong on the map. Top lane and mid lane, he's losing in those matchups for the side of Misfits. So he goes down to where Hans Sama has the Lucian and the Braum to really enable him to make that invade happen and almost get a kill.
And that's the power of Hans Sama and Mickey X's bot lane right now. And you know, these guys are continuing to prove that you don't need to go with this crazy new meta, switch around, play something AP in the bottom lane. No, you can just go standard, and as long as you're good enough, you can still win it.
Yeah, and wow, actually Upset very early at Vampiric Scepter on that Ezreal. That'll eventually become a Blade of the Ruined King, but it's much more common we see the Trinity Force for that earlier spike, but he realizes that Hans Sama has a little bit of sustain himself, working towards his own Blade, and that means it's harder to stay in this lane because Hans Sama won't be chunked out whenever they go for an all-in.
That's very true. Now, speaking of all-ins, Nukeduck's looking for Senkux. In comes Vander. This is the roam we were talking about, but there's the Demonic Ascension on. Amazing. Denies him any further entry with the pillar. So Senkux burning his ultimate there.
It's a very important cooldown on the Swain.
Oh, it's not done yet.
Didn't get too much of a drain off on the ultimate. So
that was a bit of a spook.
Yeah, looked a lot more powerful than it actually was there.
Swain is one of those champions that just, like, his abilities look like they do a lot of damage even when they don't.
The VFX on those are sweet, especially on that dragon.
You telling me you playtested?
I definitely did, and I was a big fan.
Yep. Well, I think Schalke will be a big fan of what just happened because they took no damage for burning Mickey X's ultimate.
Yep, and Senkux, no ulti. He's actually getting ganked again.
I've seen this one again, yeah, but there's no ultimate this time, as you pointed out. Teleport is going to come in to try and save his life, though. So, Misfits still trying to play around Senkux, but they will be burning one teleport of Mickey X just to try and scare Schalke.
Yeah, that's not really a big cost because that's not a top laner TP. That's your support's TP. Here goes Misfits.
Splitting the uprights, though. Mickey will find a Winter's Bite. Whoa. Senkux comes back in for round 2. That is a scary sound effect as well.
That was spooky. Vander got us with that one.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere.
I mean, there's a lot of spook going on. You got Senkux doing the Eye of Sauron thing, Vander doing his...
We have a lot of edgy champions.
Yeah, a lot of edgy champions for sure. Where's Kane?
I wish Kane got a little bit more play. Got played one time so far in the ULCS and didn't look look that good.
Where were you last split, man? We saw some sick teams in mid and jungle. Ask Caps about it.
Too bad. Too bad it just doesn't work out, because that's a champion that takes a little bit longer to come online, unlike the Camille and the Trundle that we're seeing in this game. Camille even can solo the dragons very early on, and the Ocean Drake is a very, very powerful tool to give to your lanes, especially when they're struggling.
Now, speaking of struggling, it looks like Schalke have opted to try and make a swap up top happen. And this has caught Misfits a little bit off guard because they've left the Mundo here.
And keep in mind, there's a teleport on Han Sama, so if Misfits want to match the 2v2, which I very much believe they do, they TP him in right now because they are winning this bot lane matchup. Now top lane, Australia lanes, or imagine it or not. And
it just took 12 minutes to happen.
And he's up 15 CS, so they can continue to abuse this 2 versus 2 on the top end of the map because they elected to run the TV. And
you can see the big difference in the item spikes right now. You don't even need to look at the CSD because the Blade of the Ruin King is completed for Han Sama. The Ezreal on Upset side still only has the Bilgewater Cutlass and the Tier, and everybody else is still kind of working towards that stacking. Schalke may have a gold lead in theory, but it definitely doesn't feel that way when you look at the bottom lane.
It's very interesting, this build for Han Upset, because, of course, he will have a little bit more consistent DPS, and the max HP damage means a lot against a Mundo and a Swain and a Braum. So it's gearing up more for all-in team fights, I feel, rather than the Q poke that we often see out of Ezreal in the mid-game. That's definitely going to be a switch-up, I think, in style for this type of champion than we're used to seeing here in the ULCS.
That's fair. Now, while everything else has been happening on the map, Chachi and Alfari are adjusting to their new home down in the bottom side, and they've been fairly even back and forth. There's a slight CS advantage for Visit Chachi, and this is something that's unusual for Alfari. He's usually the one getting a little further ahead on the Mundo up against the Cho'Gath. He does go in with Burning Agony, tries to deal with him here. It looks like we might be in for a gank because Amazing is coming through. There's no vision here for Alfari, but he's playing it still very carefully.
It is still a Mundo, but it's against a Trundled and a Cho'Gath. That's a lot of damage.
Oh, he gets clipped. Let's see if they have the damage to take him down. I'm not so sure. The true damage would come in handy for Visit Chachi, but he doesn't get him in lethal range, and he just forces Alfari back.
To be fair, I really like the setup from Schalke with those two champions. Very good at bursting down the Mundo with the Subjugate. You can get him very low and then chomp him with that Cho'Gath. But while they invest a lot of resources in the bottom side, Misfits, they're taking the top lane tower.
Absolutely.
Uh-oh,
meanwhile, Sengox might go down in the mid. There is going to be a Golden Swain to make those blades evaporate.
What are we saying here?
Let's go ahead and check it on Twitter, yeah. I appreciate that someone likes my description of the Scuttle Crowd, and it is NALCS. Keeps dying.
Oh yeah, let's get ready for some Rift Rivals, baby.
Oh yeah, it's coming.
Keep dying, they keep coming back for more, and then...
Yep. Let's time we're going over there, Ender.
Yeah, no, I would... God, imagine if I was from Los Angeles. That would be hideous.
No, right? It'd feel horrible.
I wouldn't be able to live with myself.
That's a good thing we don't have to worry about that, huh? Hey. This has been definitely a little slower of a game, but not because the teams are not trying to make plays. It's just much more subtle, it feels like.
And I think both teams have advantages where they expected them to. For Schalke, it's in the mid lane. They've kept trying to shut down Sengox, but all they've been able to do is build up that CS lead, whereas Han Sama, I mean, we expect this guy to be dominating in the bottom lane. He's up 800 gold over Upset, which is almost that Vampiric Scepter. That's a pretty significant lead to have at just 15 minutes.
But no major mistakes from Schalke either. We haven't seen Upset go down yet. We haven't seen anybody die on either side, in fact, and it's because the gold lead is so slim here that they can be happy with the fact that they haven't lost out on too much. The tower's the big difference, and that's just going to happen. You're losing out on pressure. So I asked you at the very beginning of the game plan, is this going to be take the bot tower, rotate to mid, make it all happen? Okay, we Australia'd it. And it looks like this is happening.
Everything's upside down, but that bot lane turret is still very, very low, and that's why I really liked the play from Misfits to match up top, because all of a sudden they get that top tower. The second they even sneeze on that bot lane one, it is gonna fall as well, and that'll make it very easy for them to continue to control the entire game. It's a little bit slower than we're used to seeing the Misfits play. Oh, Vander! That was sick.
That was clutch. Interrupting the Rift Herald.
I mean, to be fair, he just pressed Q, or I guess he held it down and then let go, but that's still a very big deal.
That's a skill button right there.
Look at this. If he doesn't do that, Misfits, they take mid tower, they rotate bot lane, they take bot lane tower, and then set up for Ocean Drake in 2 minutes. All of a sudden, they have 5 objectives, and Schalke are so far behind.
Well, speaking of so far behind, Vander is not getting out of this one alive. So he's going to pay very highly for his stop of Max Lore's Rift Herald pop, and meanwhile, Alfari should be able to polish off tower down in the bottom. That's first blood. 15 minutes and 40 seconds. I think that might be one of the longest ones we've had in the split.
Definitely in this split. We've had some slow ones in the past, but so far not in the last month. The thing about Pyke, though, is that he's very good at escaping. It is very difficult to burst him down, but when he can't outplay it, when he gets clicked on by Maxlor and trapped inside a brush, that becomes a whole lot more difficult for him to get on out of there.
Yeah, let's take a look at the play one more time. Vander, see, I believe this is after he pops the Rift Herald, and yeah, he sticks around a little too long.
By the ward, and that's Senkuk starting off following in by Maxlor and the whole gang. No way he's making out of that.
Yeah, scary Ghost Water Diver, no. Now, that is actually the first time this split we've had anybody die for the first time after 15 minutes.
Wow.
Let me restart that one. It's the latest first blood we've had. Thank you, Statistics, for telling me that one. And, well, they could have made it go a little longer if Vander had stuck around for the ward.
Poor Vander. He was just trying to do his duty there as the support. Didn't work. But don't want to see Schalke slow down, because I do feel like the mid game is where you want to make plays with the team. Obviously, the quote-unquote the holy grail power spike of Ezreal going to be delayed a bit because he opted to go for the Blade of the Ruin King as a first item. But the Triforce from Nukeduck should be coming in soon. I feel like there's a lot of ability to scrap with Pyke and Trundle in the mid game.
Yeah, there's definitely some options for them to work with their tools right now, and you can see they're already investing a fair amount of vision here, especially around the Baron side of the map. Now, there's no Rift Herald, there won't be Baron for another 2.5 minutes anyways, but Vander and Upset moving towards the mid. They want to try and fire down this tower. They just don't have the same level of control on the map because they haven't actually been able to find an outer themselves. Yeah,
Schalke probably going to need to group up if they ever want to enter into this river, but it's going to be very, very difficult. They're not going to be able to find a pick there on towards Mickey. And they give over a second Ocean Break. This lets Misfits stay on the map for so long, Pyra.
Yeah, this is going to be one of those games I feel it's made by incremental wins, little tiny victories over and over again. This seems to be the smart Misfits game plan, and that gold lead is crawling up right now, Ender. We've got 3,000 in the lead. That's 1 kill, that's 3 towers, and that's, crucially, that's what Schalke doesn't have.
Yeah, and Misfits, they just continue to apply this pressure. They've been, I want to see the forward percentage for this team because they've just been on Schalke's side of the map for so long in this game. Constantly pressuring now the inner line of turrets.
Yeah, the war of attrition, but now it's
baby.
going to an actual war.
Oh,
the Mickey! Mickey X! Bodyguard extraordinaire.
That was sick, stopping Nukeduck in his tracks, because all in all, Nukeduck would crush Hansama in that 1v1, but Hans, he's got a friend.
Oh, yeah, he does. I think he owes Mickey X dinner after that one.
I like to say a milkshake. That's my personal thing, you know, growing up with the sports. If anyone ever took one for the team, you get him a milkshake.
All right.
So get Mickey X a milkshake.
What do you do for lactose intolerant people? Asking for a friend.
They don't get milkshakes.
Oh.
They become very sad, and you don't buy them dinner. It's their fault.
They get nothing. Wow. I see how it is.
You ganked their lane.
Okay, good. I like that one better. All right, so Misfits. Hansama gets bailed out by Mickey X.
Oh, Vander.
And it looks like Vander's
No.
not going to be so lucky. Hextech ultimatum. Are you kidding me? He's going to flash just a smidgen too late. And Hansama takes him down now. There's a Chachi trying for the second win here, but it's not going to matter. Senkuk's in demon form. Misfits, it just looks like they're too strong right now.
There was just no playmaking from Schalke. Misfits have always been the ones pressing forward constantly. They have complete control over this jungle. Look at the control wards in this eastern quadrant of the map. How does Vander ever get into this area? The answer is they can't. This is the play from Nukeduck onto Hansama. He lands just about everything he can.
He didn't have to go back
but
in,
it's Mickey who gets him with the knock-up. Actually hits him from behind. That was so sad for Nuke.
Yeah, but Hansama definitely wiping a beat of sweat off that one. And he
like,
went in a little bit aggressive, but he still managed to get out alive.
Drops the calculated in Chaz, like, no problem. I knew that was going to happen. I had faith.
Now, we've already had some pretty hypey moments already in the first couple opening games of the day, Ender, but you take a look at the bottom right of your screen. Fnatic in G2, that one's going to be so sick. Like, if today is like a premonition of what's going to happen towards the end, I cannot wait for that final game.
That's a great one, and, you know, if you check out that Match of the Week video, there's 2 very intelligent casters talking about what's going to be happening
handsome
in that game.
As well.
Very handsome.
Yeah, gotta love those voices.
It's crazy.
All right. I wonder who they are.
It's us.
Oh. I should probably watch that before casting.
Yeah, you probably should.
All right.
Oh, man.
So now there's a bait going on here with Schalke, 2 members sitting in the brush, but I feel like Misfits are a little bit stronger on this, and it's just such a huge gold lead. It's 5K ahead right now. Let's see if Schalke can try and equalize, but no, all they can do is pull Mickey.
Yeah, you don't want that, man. That's a big old tanky Braum, still with the flash, still with the Glacial Fissure. And now, you see what the cost is when Schalke group up and try to make a pick. Now, Alfari in the bottom lane has priority, has pressure as this wave is going to crash into the bottom lane turret. And there's going to be minions, there's going to be golden experience missed on the side of Schalke, because Chachi's not going to be there to pick it up, and that's actually, it looks small, but it builds up over time, and that's how Misfits have just grown this lead wide open.
And that's the critical thing, that there haven't been major mistakes, outside of a couple of unnecessary positioning errors by Vander, but Misfits don't need little mistakes. Or they don't need big mistakes to win. They just need little ones. They can just keep forcing the advantage. And this is why this team is still undefeated. And it looks like that's going to continue today.
And it is very fun, I think, to see Misfits play a very different style. Even though there's only 3 kills in this game, and that's not very fun, the fact that they can show some variation, even still playing the standard comp with the Lucian as an AD carry in the bottom lane, it shows some depth here in how they actually go about playing out the match. They don't have to snowball in 20 minutes. They can just out-macro you.
Yeah, this is the same kind of thing we've seen showcased at G2 Esports or other undefeated teams so far, is that the variety is king right now. Execution at the high level of that variety is even more important. Now, Misfits looking to try and set up around this Baron, but it will be a while before they feel super confident that they can just straight up take it without getting a few kills. But they've got this map controlled, as you pointed out. Alfari can just sit bottom, do what he wants to do, as long as Misfits can avoid getting caught out. They're perfectly fine.
Man, I just want to see Schalke do something. Go in and make a proactive play, because that's what we wanted out of them. And it hasn't happened yet.
You might get your wish. I don't know if it's going to be what you wanted, though. Teleport coming around the backside, but the fight has already started. Nuke trying to find someone to pick off. Not going to happen. Exhaust is gone down onto him, but Maxwell getting pulled back into a fight with Amazing, and a full channel of the culling is going to be dumped into the Aurelia before the Mundo finally gets the finishing blow. And everyone from Schalke is evaporating. Triple kill from Mundo, and you better believe it's Baron time, Ender.
Yeah, Alfari popping up at the triple. Now, without a smite, though, Misfits are starting up the Baron, but it's just an upset and a Vander, and there's no true shot barrage trying to steal this away.
Not going to happen. It's a bit of a slower Baron take, but all the same, there is no competition. Instead, they can't even try and finish off the mid tower. Nothing going for Schalke this game. So at 23-15, Misfits Gaming will secure Baron #1 of this game.
A little bit earlier than I expected it, honestly, with how the pacing of this game had felt for the first 20 minutes of that match. But after that Baron, pretty fantastic stuff in that team fight, because it was interesting because Misfits, their composition, they've got a bunch of drain tanks. That means they survive for a very long time with the Mundo and the Swain. So while Schalke do pick off the jungler at the start, Axel right off the bat, Misfits out-sustain and out-DPS Schalke over the course of this team fight.
Yeah, and Alfari just takes all the kills. I love that part. Just starts running.
Gets the last hit, whacks him with Cleaver. Doing what he wants.
Look at Mundo. He's the carry now.
Yes, he is.
All right.
He did the most damage in that fight.
He did.
There
I mean,
you go.
that's like full credit to him.
That's the power of the
I just am
Mundo.
looking at Han Sama full calling into Nuke face. And, you know, they're going to be able to take a well-earned inner tower here. Now, remember, Schalke do not have a single turret, do not have a single objective, and they just haven't been able to execute on the play attempts they've made. Last-ditch Saloon right now, Nuke, he might be going in for play a flank around the side, but is it strong enough?
Yeah, they don't have much wave there. It's almost like Schalke have to force with the flank here from Nuke. He has the flash, so does Upset. There's a lot of playmaking still left here for Schalke, but Misfits, as has been the story of this entire game, are playing so controlled. Instead of risking a team fight around that inhibitor tower, they're going to back up and probably take down that Drake soon.
Wouldn't be too surprised, give them a little extra oomph in their push. And Mountain Dragon, of course, it doesn't hurt the fact that they've had a couple of Oceans this game, because as soon as they get out of harm's way, they can heal back up and stay on the map so much, like you've been saying. Let's take a look at some of our item choices here. We're still waiting for the Trinity Force Ezreal, but at least he's got his Muramana in addition to Blade the Ruin King on the side of Schalke 04, but they need time.
Yeah, Upset playing a little bit slower with the build. Looks like it might be an Iceborne Gauntlet, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Trinity
Okay,
Force is going to be a little bit more defensive with the dive here of Maxlor, but still, Misfits, they're continuing this siege. They've got a cannon minion with this wave, so if they protect it, it's going to do a lot of damage. Hans
Sama gets pulled back once more. His life gets saved by Mickey X, and Amazing is going to get deleted, courtesy of Maxlor, who goes in for round 2 onto Nuke. Gets tossed back and around, but he's able to get the outplay. And Alfari into the back line, going wherever he pleases, and where he pleases is straight into Schalke's base.
I mean, Misfits, they look like they're getting caught there. Hold on to that.
Zenkux, he was getting caught, but it doesn't matter because look at all the damage they turn around on Chachi. He just can't do anything. One chomp, but Han stays alive all the same. And Misfits Gaming cleaning up. Very nice.
That might just be it. They've got another minion wave on the way into the base. A little bit low on those death timers still, but Misfits, that's the base being broken right open in the face of Schalke.
All right, inhibitor #1 taken down. They decide they do not want to try to end this one. A little bit low death timer still in this game. Amazing just comes back up off the fountain. But Misfits, it doesn't get a lot cleaner than that.
No, it doesn't. And I would like to point out there is now a little bit of damage into this build of the Dr. Mundo with that Titanic Hydra. It's something we have seen a little bit of, but that's why he's doing the DPS in these fights. He feels so confident with 4 kills that he's gonna get in the face of Schalke and still do the damage.
And people
he's
have
the
to hit
carry
him.
now, man.
People have to hit him. He's got a Bramble Vest, too. Like that and his Burning Agony. Nobody's getting near this guy and living for very long. Let's take a look at this fight again.
Oh, man. I mean, it's a really good hook from Vander at the start. It picks off on some of the pillar from Amazing. Very helpful in that as well. But there's just no damage. Upset isn't doing what he needs to at this point in the game to be able to carry it out. Maxwell barely escapes from the death from below on Vander. Another clean team fight there for Misfits.
Yeah, now Senko's, it looked like he might have actually gotten caught here, but instantly Mickey X tags in. And honestly, this guy's got my MVP vote because he's not only saving lives, he's tagging forward very clutch use of the Glacial Fissure over and over again, and we saw it in that fight. So definitely some credit to Mickey.
Yeah, it's beautiful how Misfits have been playing out this game so far, and it's so difficult at this point in the game, it feels, for Schalke to actually deal with this composition from the side of Misfits. There isn't the damage they need at this point, and it's because they played so slowly for those first 20 minutes. It feels like they missed that window of opportunity where they could have made something happen.
And it goes back to what we talked about, the key difference between these teams being, like, well, one side has lanes that are very strong that can kind of be self-sufficient at the very least and allow Maxlor to get in there and deal a lot of damage, get the farm up early, do whatever he needs to do. On the other side, Schalke are fairly reliant on Amazing to try and make some of these plays, and while he tried, he did keep Maxlor down in the early phases. It wasn't nearly enough to stave off this Misfit snowball.
You somehow have to shut down Hansama in this fight. He's got the Essence Reaver now on the Lucian, so get ready for the mechanics field show. Hansama is going to be able to do so much and click his buttons so fast in these fights.
If they even force another fight at this point, I feel like Misfits can just keep this pressure going right now. There's a naked inhibitor in the mid with a horde of minions charging through it. There's a dead one up or in the bottom, and now flashing forward. Maxlor was looking for Amazing. Instead, they just cut the legs off the wave here, and they should just be able to finish off the last tower outside the base for Schalke with no competition.
Schalke, there's no Baron on the side of Misfits for another 2 minutes, so should be able to clear away these minion waves, deal with the supers in the bottom side of the map, but it's going to come down to this next Baron buff. They're going to have to win a team fight around that objective, otherwise Misfits are going to take it and waltz straight through on towards Schalke's Nexus.
Very tough ask for Schalke, but it does seem a little bit rough. They haven't been able to get enough going. If they can pull out a fight like this, it will be nothing short of a miracle. There is a 12,000 gold advantage, Ender. We're not quite 30 minutes in this game now, but that is the late game in this meta.
Yeah.
But that's still a really big gold advantage, and I'm looking at the tower difference as to why.
8-0. That tells you that no plays were made by Schalke in the early game, but it's funny too because 5,000 of that gold difference came from the Baron power play on the side of Misfits. We're really able to use that to break open the map for the first time around. Now they have the Mountain Drake to make the secure of the second Baron that much easier. And you just sort of start ticking all these boxes on the side of Misfits.
Yeah,
Get
just
the
the wing
dragon.
ward is the last thing you need.
Put a lot of control wards in the top side of the jungle so that Schalke can never get in here. Get the Baron, win a team fight, win the game. That's it.
Systematic instruction. So, Misfits Gaming, unless something horrific happens, these guys are well on their way to that 5-0. Very confident. Much confidence being built. But for Schalke, it just feels like what can you do other than not make the mistakes in the early game, play more actively, play a little bit more like we wanted to see out of these guys, like we were expecting with Amazing in this lineup. It just seems like they've been outclassed.
It's interesting because this team has been fairly inconsistent. I'm going to hold my breath a little bit as Vizcachi does step forward here. We might see a fight.
Okay, here goes Mickey X. There's the Vanguard's Edges. Maybe a chance for them to get something happening. The Glacial Fissure, there goes Maxlor. Ultimatum onto Vizcachi, but meanwhile, everyone's getting cut through. Amazing trying to find Hansama. There goes the calling, and he's going to fall down. Alfari gets the final hit once again, and now Nuke Duck is caught, isolated from the rest of the team. Flashes burn on either side, pulled back in. And nowhere for him to go, as much sustain as he has. It's a 1-for-2 trade. Maxlor did fall, but Misfits, they're not faltering in this push.
They might not go for the Baron here. They might look for this inhibitor first. They also have a minion wave on the top side of the map. Notice that Hansama does have the teleport, so he can just rejoin with the rest of the team and try to destroy even more of this Schalke base.
Looks like he'll do it. Now there's still 30 seconds on Nuke Duck, 15 on Amazing, but Misfits decide not to push their luck. Will they finally go for the Baron here? There is no smite, as you pointed out, on either team for the next 10 seconds.
That was the same story of the last Baron. Maxlor did fall down in that fight, but it's going to be a rinse and repeat here as they're all
very
in
cautious.
this bush, man. They're just looking for that pick one more time, but Chachi can check with the Q.
He thinks to do it. Instead, they get a little impatient. Now they're going forward. Okay, there's the rupture. They're pulling back in once again. Shachi, how tanky can you be, my friend? I don't know. It looks like he's going to get yanked back in, and the rest of Schalke can only sit and watch as their giant void monster gets taken down to 0.
Yeah, Hansama has the tank shredding in the build to be able to deal with that front line. And now with no feast on the side of Schalke, no top laner, Misfits, they're going straight over this Baron. It's 5 versus 4.
Total control here on the side of Misfits Gaming, and while the rest of Schalke have to try and clean up their base, Misfits get free time on the Baron. And they even managed to grab themselves a Skull Crab, as the crowd points out.
That's more important than the Baron, right, Pyra?
Yeah, it's a moral victory.
Oh, man.
More crabs for the Crab God.
See, I'm looking at this game, right? And you posed a question earlier about what did Schalke want to do differently. We'll talk about that in just a moment because it's all Misfits abusing the vision that they control here in the top side of the map, and the fact that Schalke just do not have the damage. They almost made the pick there on towards Hansama, but he's able to kite it out, get the culling to cut him down, and Max Lorsenka just buying time, zoning multiple members by themselves, which was fantastic to see out of them.
And one of those members that was zoned, Upset. He's finally got some damage, but it doesn't matter if you can't get in range to use it. On this blue Ezreal that's just trying to kite people out. If you get kited yourself, there's not much you can do now. A big channel of Coley is going to take Vander down halfway to his health bar. The final tower, not on the Nexus, will start to get fired down. Does get destroyed. Senka's get caught up. Maybe this is a chance for Schalke to do something, anything, but everyone's tagging in. Misfits. Oh, they just assembled the team. Easy peasy right now, and Alfari just doesn't even care. He's taking everybody else down. They don't even need the inhibitor at this point. They're going to fire down amazing, and Wash, Rinse, Repeat is the name of the game. Misfits Gaming, they've lost 2 members in this. They have lost no towers in this, and they take one of the cleanest games that I have seen in the post 8.11 world. As I say it, it looks like they caught a little bit much on the fountain. The Senkux KDA is going to get destroyed, but it doesn't matter. These guys are just having some fun, and Ender, well, they're ending this game.
Oh, man. GG, Pyra. That was Misfits all the way.
Yeah, wipe a little bit of sweat off there, Alfari. I mean, honestly, 1 or 2 beats is all it was going to take for these guys.
That was a long 33-minute victory on patch 8.12, but there was never a doubt in my mind that Misfits were going to pull away with that win. Calm, cool, collected, methodical was the approach from the best team in Europe.
You can't get very different than the last 2 games we just had.